In the not-so-distant future, humanity shifts its focus towards space exploration, seeking new habitats and potential encounters with extraterrestrial intelligence. This leads to the establishment of colonies on both Mars and the Moon. Major Roy, fulfilling his childhood dream, serves as an astronaut. As he undergoes a psychological evaluation before his next mission, he outwardly assures the doctors of his well-being, maintaining an excellent poker face. Major Roy grapples internally with the recent departure of his wife, Eve, who left due to the substantial time demands imposed by his career. Today's mission involves repairing a robotic arm situated at one of Earth's numerous space antennas. Roy, displaying remarkable fearlessness, ascends an exceedingly tall ladder with ease. However, the situation takes a dire turn when an unfamiliar light begins flashing. Suddenly, a power surge triggers an explosion, leading to the tragic fall of several astronauts. Reacting swiftly, Roy seeks out the power lever and manages to deactivate it, but another explosion ensues, causing him to plummet. Remarkably composed, Roy deploys his parachute as he nears Earth, ensuring a safe landing. Back at home, Roy reflects on his miraculous survival. Despite the gravity of the situation, he finds himself strangely detached. Memories of Eve's words about his supposed self-destructive tendencies echo in his mind. As he tunes into the news, he discovers that electrical storms are wreaking havoc globally. A short time later, Roy gets a phone call from Spacecom inviting him to a highly classified meeting. The higher-ups are impressed with Roy's ability to remain composed in extreme situations and his lack of family connections. They show him spectrogram images of Neptune being bombarded by cosmic ray bursts. The bursts are connected to the electrical surges devastating Earth. The conversation turns to the mysterious Lima project, a project Roy is familiar with because its commander is his father Clifford. The Lima project was launched 29 years ago, marking humanity's first human venture into deep space. After 16 years, the spacecraft disappeared without leaving any data. Deep space missions were put on hold indefinitely. Clifford and his crew are presumed dead, but recent reports suggest they may still be alive. The cosmic ray bursts are thought to be caused by an antimatter reaction, the same fuel used in the Lima project. The resulting chain reaction could threaten the stability of the solar system and all life within it. Spacecom requests Roy to journey to Mars and transmit a message to Clifford, hoping that hearing his son's voice will prompt him to respond. Despite maintaining a poker face as he hears about his dad, Roy reluctantly agrees to the mission, aware that he has little choice and suspects he's being manipulated. Afterward, Roy begins preparing for the journey and decides to revisit the final video his father sent him, recorded just before reaching Neptune. His father departed when Roy was 16, and the message mainly revolves around the potential discovery of aliens' life, concluding with a heartfelt declaration of love for his son. In that moment, Pruitt, an old friend of Roy's father who will also join the mission, approaches him. Pruitt inquires about Roy's emotional well-being, and Roy admits he still believes his father is deceased. Pruitt suggests they must consider the possibility that Clifford is intentionally avoiding contact. The night before the mission, Roy attempts to record a message for Eve, but finds himself at a loss for words and ultimately doesn't capture anything. Despite his lack of sleep, he acknowledges feeling prepared for the upcoming evaluation. Consequently, his trip is secret. To maintain secrecy, Roy will travel under the guise of a commercial flight to the Moon, from where he will continue his journey to Mars. The journey proceeds smoothly, yet all passengers are reminded of the Moon's precarious geopolitical landscape, where many mining zones are embroiled in territorial disputes and conflicts. As they arrive at the colony, Roy notices it's turned into a fun place for people, but he thinks his dad wouldn't have liked it. Roy and Pruitt hop on a train to the Spacecom base, where Pruitt explains that no one there knows about their secret mission. The launch pad is on the other side of a dangerous area called No Man's Land, so they'll have guards with guns to keep them safe. Curious about Pruitt's relationship with his dad, Roy asks when was the last time they spoke. Pruitt admits it was during an argument. When Pruitt thought about retiring, Roy's dad called him a traitor. Pruitt wonders if Roy is scared, but Roy says he's not. He believes his dad is a hero and hates how Spacecom wants to make him look like the bad guy. At the base, Pruitt and Roy are assigned to rovers and head out with a convoy of soldiers. But as they venture into an open area, they're suddenly attacked by pirates who unleash gunfire upon them. The escorting rovers are swiftly disabled, and Roy's suit is punctured, but he manages to patch it up just in time. Sadly, the driver of his rover is shot, prompting Roy to take charge and maneuver among the base's structures, causing some of the pirates to crash. Attempting to fight back, Roy fires at the remaining pirates, but they strike his rover, sending him tumbling into a crater. Roy feigns losing control of the vehicle until the pirates depart, then resumes driving, using the cover of darkness to slip away. The base responds by launching missiles to eliminate the pirates once they've retreated far enough. Finally reaching the launch pad, Pruitt reveals he was injured during the attack and won't be able to accompany Roy to Mars. Despite the loss of his companion, Roy suppresses his emotions and maintains his brave facade. Before Roy departs, Pruitt entrusts him with a drive containing confidential data, warning him of the peril it poses due to distrust from their superiors. Undeterred, Roy boards the rocket bound for Mars. Upon arrival, Roy meets the crew and Captain Tanner, who inform him of Pruitt's emergency surgery. The journey ahead spans 19 days, and the crew remains unaware of Roy's true mission. As mood stabilizers are distributed, Roy opts to conceal his unease by hiding the medication within his suit rather than ingesting it. Out of earshot for a few minutes, Roy looks at the information on Pruitt's drive, which shows that Spacecom received an SOS signal from the Lima Project crew. It appears that Roy's father, Clifford, deliberately shut off all external communications. If we can't contact Clifford, we must terminate the Lima Project. We must stop Clifford to stop the surges. Roy ponders, what happened to my father? Did he mean to do this? He recalls Clifford's promise to work with me one day, but that never came to pass. Later, they receive a distress call from a space station and feel obligated to help as required by protocol. Roy wants to concentrate on his mission, but his objections are overruled. Seeing his co-pilot's fear, Roy steps forward and offers to go to the space station with Tanner. They split up to cover additional ground, and Roy notices scratching on the walls. Roy notices that Tanner is floating and shaking. As Roy approaches, he sees a baboon feed on him. The baboon attacks Roy as soon as he sees it, but Roy manages to fight it off with a taser. Then another baboon appears, and Roy grabs Tanner and hides in another room, closing the door behind them. He tries to seal Tanner's helmet with duct tape, but soon has to go back to the door to close it as the baboon again tries to get in. Finally, Roy finds the pressure hatch, opens it, and the baboon explodes. A few moments later, Roy brought Tanner's body back to their vessel. But despite medical attention, Tanner did not survive, and his body was discarded into space. Later, while everyone is asleep, Roy goes through another psych evaluation and explains that he did not show any emotion when Tanner died. When Roy is asked for more information, he explains that he sees the baboon's aggression as a reflection of his own anger over his father's abandonment of him. Under the surface of his anger, Roy sees a deep-rooted hurt that has robbed him of the ability to form meaningful relationships with others. As they approach Mars, their vessel is hit by a power outage and forced to land manually instead of automatically. The pilot is too stunned to respond, so Roy takes over and guides the ship safely to Mars. In a private moment, Roy tells his partner that he won't report his hesitancy to Spacecom. The crew makes their way to Arisa Research Station, where Roy meets Director Helen. Helen is unaware of their secret mission, so she escorts Roy to the building, where the other staff members are working quietly. Roy is given a hard copy of a pre-written message in which they state their intention to help Clifford and ask for any data they can get. Unfortunately, they get no response, and the technicians are forced to put off further attempts. Roy retreats into the comfort room, where he struggles with his feelings. Does he really want to see his father again, or does he want to be free of his shadow? When it's time for the next message, Roy throws out the pre-written one and speaks honestly from his heart. He talks about his childhood memories and his own astronaut journey and how he longs to see his dad again. As the technicians hoot and holler over the communications, Roy anxiously awaits the news. Sensing some sort of breakthrough, he demands to hear the report, only to be denied access and declared unfit for mission because of his personal connection to the mission. Roy is excused and goes outside, where he sees another crew getting ready to leave, but receives no response to his questions. On the eve of his departure to Earth, Roy goes through another psych evaluation. His despair and anger finally catch up with him, and in a moment of weakness, he manipulates his biorhythms. This results in Roy being removed from the assessment and returned to the comfort chamber for further evaluation. Sometime later, Helen pays Roy a visit, seeking answers. Initially hesitant to divulge the secret, Roy relents when Helen reveals her personal connection to Mars. She was born there, and her parents perished in the Lima Project. She discloses that the higher-ups tasked her with preparing a rocket armed with nuclear munitions, destined for Neptune, and she's determined to uncover the truth behind the mission. Roy shares what little he knows, prompting Helen to reveal a video they received some time ago. Shockingly, the footage confirms Clifford's survival, with screams echoing in the background. Clifford explains that his crew rebelled, desiring to return home, leaving him with no choice but to eliminate them all. To mask the tragedy, Spacecom fabricated Clifford's heroism, deceiving the public. Determined to confront his father, Roy is covertly escorted out of the base by Helen in a rover. She drops him off near a sewer entrance, allowing him to clandestinely access the rocket. After navigating through murky water, Roy arrives at the launch pad and sneaks into the rocket just before liftoff. However, his presence is quickly detected by the crew, and despite his attempts to explain himself, the base orders for him to be eliminated. 2 astronauts are dispatched to apprehend him, but as the rocket accelerates, one is fatally thrown against the wall. The remaining astronaut engages in a struggle with Roy, and when the captain intervenes, a misfire punctures the oxygen tanks, leading to a deadly buildup of toxic air. Despite Roy's efforts to aid the captain, it's too late to save them. With no other choice, Roy ejects their bodies from the rocket and sends a final message to the base, committing to complete the mission before severing all communications. With 79 days ahead of him, Roy must grapple with his guilt in solitude. As Roy journeys towards Neptune, he employs a feeding tube directly into his stomach and electrodes to stimulate his muscles, attempting to keep himself occupied by reminiscing about Eve and his father. However, his mood takes a nosedive when he watches Eve's final message, where she expresses feeling disconnected from him due to his constant absence. Additionally, viewing videos of his father during happier times exacerbates his emotional turmoil. Haunted by memories of his childhood, his mother, his father, and Eve, Roy grapples with the loneliness aboard the ship, realizing the extent of the people he's let down and the selfishness of his actions. As Neptune looms closer, Roy teeters on the brink of losing his sanity, but summons the resolve to compose himself for the impending mission. However, his journey takes a perilous turn when another power surge hits, causing his shuttle to malfunction. Despite his attempts to dock and communicate with his father, yielding no response, Roy is left with no choice but to abandon the failing shuttle and embark on a spacewalk towards the Lima station. As Roy enters Lima station, he's greeted by the sight of his crew's lifeless bodies floating in front of him amidst the eerie soundtrack of an old video playing on the screen. Walking further into the station, he finds his father's room, decorated with symbols of his obsession with the search for alien life. As Roy starts programming explosives, Clifford shows up, and Roy manages to keep his face composed despite the sadness in it. Clifford explains that he's been trying to stop the surges that were caused by the crew's rebellion. He thinks that as captain, he has to stay with the station because it's his home. Clifford admits that he never really cared about his family, and Roy tells him that he still loves him, even though he's far away from home. At one point, Roy reaches down to hold his dad's hand, which Clifford accepts after some hesitation. As Roy helps him dress, Clifford tells him that he is proud of his son's journey and wonders what might have been had they worked as a team together. He reveals that his crew abandoned their mission upon discovering no signs of life, a stark contrast to their unwavering determination. Roy emphasizes that despite the challenges, this situation isn't a failure because they only have each other. They set the bomb to detonate in 3 hours and depart from the station. However, once outside, Clifford attempts to cast himself into space. Roy grasps the anchoring rope to keep Clifford close, but Clifford pleads for freedom. Roy grants him this final wish and unhooks the rope, watching Clifford drift away. As Clifford disappears into the void, Roy finally succumbs to his emotions, experiencing a breakdown. He floats aimlessly, contemplating whether he should give up too. Yet amidst the despair, he realizes he still has an opportunity. Utilizing his suit's propellers, Roy returns to the Lima station. There, he improvises a shield from a panel door to protect himself from asteroids while navigating Neptune's rings. While heading back to the rocket, Roy recalls his father's final words about the importance of not overlooking the beauty of the planet's surfaces in the pursuit of finding life. He taps the side of the rocket and, after some tumbling, manages to grab hold of the railing and re-enter the spacecraft. With fuel running low, he waits for the explosion of the Lima station and harnesses the shockwave to propel the rocket forward. After many days, Roy safely touches down on Earth, where he is promptly rescued by a group of soldiers who confirm the safe arrival of the Lima Data. In his subsequent psychological evaluation, Roy reports sleeping well and being aware of his surroundings. He also expresses a newfound awareness of his loved ones and a readiness to commit to reuniting with Eve and starting afresh. And with this, the movie comes to an end. Thanks for tuning in, guys.